We use water every day, from washing clothes to rinsing off after the day. But some Hattiesburg residents face a problem because their water occasionally comes out brown. Christina Breland, who lives in the Parkhaven neighborhood, says the brown water is an ongoing problem.
It's been something ongoing ever since we moved in.
Breland states the water got so bad, she and her 6 children went elsewhere for water.
So we would have to go to a friend's house to wash clothes. If everybody needed baths that day, then we would have to go to someone else's house to get baths.
Breland states the water also affected her family.
Everybody would have tummy issues, like soon after the brown water. And I always tried, we have to buy our water.
Other residents say they face problems with the water too.
I've had a little bit from time to time, but nothing major.
You don't know what you're going to get. It's just random. Sometimes it's clear, sometimes it's brown.
Water and Sewer Director Chad Frierson states the brown color comes from iron and sediment, but says the water is safe.
They shouldn't be concerned. The water here in Hattiesburg is tested each month. We pull samples throughout the city to check the water.
For those in Parkhaven, they just want the city to resolve the issue. In Hattiesburg, I'm Brandon Harrison, Hub City TV. Recovery continues for William Carey University as students have returned after a month away. While construction crews continue to rebuild the campus, students like Yasmin Fairley feel things will get back to normal soon.
I believe we can get back on track pretty soon because look at how much they've already done in just not even a month.
Although impressed with the quick return, Fairley says adjusting is tough.
It's a little hectic with all the buildings being worked on. It's kind of hard to get around.
Fairley's not the only student finding it hard to get around.
It's tough waking up and seeing it every day, but we still try to get our stuff done as best as possible.
But thanks to construction crews and volunteers, the campus came back to life.
I'm really thankful that they're working so hard to just rebuild campus and work on it. So I'm really thankful for that.
It does not go unnoticed. So thank you for your efforts.
And Fairley feels their dedication helped students come back sooner.
I think they did a really good job and they really put a lot of effort into making it safe enough for us to be able to come back.
And while some say it's tough, they believe the university became stronger. At William Carey University, I'm Brandon Harrison, Hub City TV. While driving along Hardy Street, you may feel a bump in the road. This is caused by a gap in the bridge on Hardy Street over Interstate 59. But Hattiesburg resident Susan Burchell says the gap isn't a problem.
To be honest, I never noticed the gap in the bridge, and so I don't know. I travel that once a week and didn't really notice it in my vehicle.
While Burchell feels the bridge is safe, she thinks it needs routine maintenance.
I think it needs to be monitored by MDOT and the city of Hattiesburg, whoever has the primary responsibility for maintenance.
MDOT bridge engineer Paul Purvis explains the gap is just part of the bridge's design.
It is an expansion joint that's built into the it's designed into the bridge as a bridge is expanding and contracting due to temperature.
And the Hardy Street Bridge is just one of the bridges MDOT plans to repair.
We just basically added this bridge to it since it was failing like it was and so in the condition that it was.
But some residents feel they need to be ready for traffic just in case.
People are going to have to grow up and leave earlier and prepare for delays.
MDOT says they plan to start repairs as soon as possible. Reporting for Hub City TV, I'm Brandon Harrison. Ash Wednesday marks the start of the Lenten season. For many Christians, Lent is a time of sacrifice, reminding us of Jesus' sacrifice.
We are reminded of the sufferings of others on our behalf, and we're especially reminded of the suffering of Jesus.
For parishioners at St. Thomas Aquinas Catholic Church, it's a period of preparation. For some, it's the first time experiencing Ash Wednesday as a Catholic.
It's a walk of faith, and it's a journey that has been the best decision of my life.
For others, it's a tradition they perform every year.
Sometimes it's important to revisit the reason that we engage in certain celebrations in the church. And for me, this is a time to reflect on what it means to be a Christian.
But for many, the Lenten season reminds us of our own mortality and God's power.
We came from ash, and to ash we will return.
Reporting in Hattiesburg, I'm Brandon Harrison, Hub City TV.
Recent studies show that humans cause 8 out of 10 wildfires, which is roughly 84%. And all it takes is one spark for a forest to go up in flames. In his forging days, Landis's work appeared in over 60 different museums across 20 different states. But now, Landis says he's turned over a new leaf. The Hardy Street Bridge is just one of 20 different bridges MDOT plans to repair this fiscal year. But MDOT says the bridge is safe because the gap is just part of the design. But classrooms weren't the only things that students lost. Suddenly, many of them no longer had access to books for class. But thanks to donations from the University of Southern Mississippi, they once again had the chance to crack open those books.
It was built in I think it was started in 1898, and it was actually constructed in 1899, occupied in 1900. From the beginning, the ground floor was divided into two businesses that were rented out, and the Oddfellows would walk up their center stair to their second floor lodge facility. They began the addition of the third floor in February 1907, and they had it completed enough by May 1907 to host a state convention. That was with no power tools, no power lifts. I think they added the third floor because this was a row building, and there was no ventilation on the second floor because there were no side windows. There was the front window, and there was a balcony. Even when it was a second floor building, there was a balcony. So they had front and rear, but there was no side ventilation, and I think they just got hot. So they added a floor. They moved their lodge facility up to the third floor, and they partitioned the second floor into various and sundry offices. They owned it from its inception until 1987. But following the Depression and World War II, their membership was so decimated that they really were not a very active group. Though in 1900, the International Order of Oddfellows was the largest fraternal organization in America. But by the time World War II ended and people came back, the membership declined. I think the last minutes that are recorded are from 1960. We bought it in 2008, and we began working to do a historical preservation. We worked with Larry Albert and with the Mississippi Department of Archives and History and the National Park Service to do a historical preservation of this building. It took us from 2009 to 2011 to complete it. It had to be completely rewired, replumbed. Well, first, it had been carved up. This particular floor had been carved up into like 16 different rooms. The ceilings had been lowered to 9-foot ceilings. The front had been, where it is alcoved, the front had been bumped out to be even with the sidewalk and aluminum frame windows added. The balcony had either caved in or been removed. The floor that is most original is the third floor, which was the addition from 1907 and housed their ceremonial room. And it has the original floors, the original, it has wainscoted walls, and it's the original wainscoting, the original plaster walls. The ceilings had rusted out, but we could see what they looked like, and we had the tin tiles replicated. The windows had been replaced many, many times with different kinds of windows, but we put what was probably there. A lot of it is speculation. We didn't intend to do the restoration we did, but when we removed the partitions and when we took out the asbestos tile ceiling and ripped up the asbestos tile floor, we saw that this was a remarkable building. It was gorgeous, and we just couldn't bear to change it from how it was originally built. This place has a spirit of creativity and of caring and sharing. The Oddfellows motto, their logo is a 3-link chain and unbroken. With each link, one is love, one is truth, one is friendship. And we just wanted to retain the spirit of that. I think it's a link between the past and the present, and a hope for the future, that this building could stand in pristine splendor 117 years after its creation and still be a meaningful part of the community is an endorsement of how Spirit lives.